we have Lakers, who's the clinical psychologist by profession. We want to let you know that everything that we do here is pretty safe. We do have our backing with Christian principles. Whatever psychology principles he's teaching you, that's the base. And so you can feel safe and comfortable enough to know that we're passing the message across to you. We'd like you to, sit back and relax, and as we bring to you Lakers Kamaya for this session. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, Perth. Can I have more lighting, please? I want to see these lovely faces. How are you doing, guys? Awesome. Is my mic on? Can you hear me? Awesome. Awesome. Nice to see you. These are lovely faces. Can I have some more light, please? Cool. This is good. This is good. I want to welcome you once again to our Tribe of David, our June event. Look, we have so much packed for today. Like KG said, I have a friend in the house who I'm going to be interviewing later on in the show. I hope you guys came with some stuff to write in this morning. This morning is so it's going to be so good. It's going to be a life transforming time for you. I can assure you that. But before we get into that part, usually I try to just give a spiel of what Tribe of David is about. It's basically a platform for people like you, people like me to come together, because I believe so strongly that we all have dreams, we all have goals, we all have visions. We have things, at one point in time in our lives that we've wanted to do, but for one reason or the other, it could be as a result of people, speaking negative stuff into our lives. We actually shy away from such things, and we haven't been able to realize such goals and such dreams. So Tribe of David basically is a platform which enables people to begin to challenge whatever self-limiting thoughts, doubts they have in their minds, breaking that down and seeing how they can pursue, that dream, how they can actually lead a life of impact. I believe strongly in the fact that you can either spend your time on things that are unimportant, or you can spend your time on important things. And you begin to discover that when you choose to spend your time on important things, that's your first step to actually making an impact in your world. And that's what Tribe of David is about. We want to be able to help people, and you see, your world might just be your own sphere of influence. You don't have to influence the whole world. You don't have to change the whole world. But if you start from just your little sphere of influence, you begin to see that you become a person of significance. So that's what Tribe of David is about. Everything we're going to be doing this morning is also going to be recorded and put on YouTube. So you can tell your friends, acquaintances to also check us on YouTube. We're on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and also we have a website too. And when we get there, I'll show you a clip of all that. So this morning, I have something awesome which I want to discuss with you before I bring my guest in. And the theme for our June event is something I've titled Audacious. And the meaning of audacious basically is fearlessly bold. Now, somebody actually walked up to me and said, look, audacious is not a common word, which I agree with. Hopefully by the end of this presentation this morning, it will actually become a buzzword for you to be able to know that it's a word, it's an attitude, it's a mindset that you need to be able to fulfill or to be able to realize your dream and vision. By the time I finish, also, I hope you'll be able to see that the only thing separating you and your dream or the realization thereabout is actually to become audacious, to become bold, to become fearless, to be able to pursue that dream. So, as usual, this is where I like to start from. I like to just read a text, from the greatest book of all time, the Bible. And I'm going to be reading the text from a particular part of the Bible, Joshua. So for the purpose of this, we'll just refer to Joshua as Josh. Are we cool with that? Josh, right? Yeah, so we'll be looking at Joshua as Josh. So I read, it says, no one will be able to stand against you. I'll give you a backstory to this later. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give to them. Now, at this stage, Josh was being commissioned to actually do some specific things. In fact, the mandate was given to Josh's predecessor, who was Moses, but Moses died, okay? And Josh was now meant to take over that particular assignment, that particular mandate. And look, I can almost say for each and every one here that there is a mandate, there is a purpose, and that's what we're going to be talking about during the interview. There is a purpose for your life. Like I said initially, people talk about life purpose, and at times people get confused. What's life purpose? People have been telling me I need to have a purpose. But look, let's break it down. Purpose basically is you and I looking for that particular thing we want to do in our life, such that we spend most of our time on that particular thing. What's important to you? What's relevant to you? What's fulfilling to you? Those are the three things I usually use to actually help me navigate the issue of purpose. What's relevant to me? Because oftentimes you also see that a lot of people do things that are not relevant at all. I once challenged someone. I said, look, what if we're given 24 hours in a day? What if the person who actually allots the 24 hours says the next 24 hours is going to be given to you based on how you spent the last 24 hours? How many people are going to get the next 24 hours? Or if it was said that the next 24 hours is going to be given to you based on perhaps the things you've spent the last 24 hours on, were they important to you? Were they fulfilling to you? Were they relevant for you? So in this case, Josh was given that mandate that, look, you're going to be taking these people. And I find that very interesting also when it comes to the dreams, the visions that you have. You see that as you begin to go along, the dreams, the realization of that dream and that vision is not so much about you. It's actually about the service you bring to people. Now, why do we have some companies? Well, why do we have them doing so well today in the world? Companies like Microsoft, companies like Apple Computers. It's because of the people that they have chosen to serve. So in this case, you see that Josh wasn't told that this is the mandate for you, I'm just going to make you very rich. He said the mandate for you is that you actually lead people. So may I suggest to you that your failure to actually walk in the realization of your dreams and your purpose, would you agree with me that you actually how would I put it now? You actually may be in a position in which you are not helping some people, or you are not leading some people into, so to speak, into their land. Because if you fail to do what your life purpose is, if you fail to do what we'll refer to later on as your calling, you actually might be preventing some other people from getting the best of their life, because you are not serving them, so they are not getting what they are meant to be getting in life. In this case, if Josh refused to lead these people, that means these people will be prevented from inheriting, whatever has been allotted to them. So that's the text for us this morning. I want to define what audacious means, also to give us a context. Webster Dictionary definition says to be audacious means to be extremely original. I think I skipped one, yeah. The first one says showing a willingness to take surprisingly bold risks. That's what it means to be audacious. That's what it means to be bold, to be courageous, to take that step. And like I said before, a lot of us have dreams. Even as you're seated right there, maybe we should do this. For those who have something you're writing in, can you just write on your digital device, your phone, your iPad, whatever it is, just write a vision that you've had, a goal, a dream that you've always had in your mind, but you haven't been able to accomplish. Because as I go on, I'm going to walk you through some action steps so that you can actually begin to track better from today, especially as we discuss this theme of audacious. So you can do that. I move on. So showing a willingness to take surprisingly bold risks. And I have actually highlighted the word willingness. So it has to come from you. It can't come from another person. Because guess what? It's your goal. Now, a lot of people may not agree with you because it's your vision. They cannot see what you see. Oftentimes, people go and they share their vision, they share their dreams, they share their goals with people who may not be on the same wavelength with them. I remember a long time ago, almost about 11 years ago now, when I wanted to go in to study psychology. I approached a senior colleague, and I told the senior colleague, look, this is what I want to do. I want to study psychology because I just enjoy the way the mind works. I enjoy the way why you have two children, born into the same family and they actually turn out differently. I enjoy why people do what they do, why well-meaning people might do crazy things at times, and why some, people that you never think that they will do stuff will actually do such things. I enjoy such challenges. So I said, look, I'm going to go and I'm going to study psychology. Guess what this older colleague told me? He said, psychology, no way. Don't go study psychology. It's actually a cult, right? One, you're an African, they are never going to accept you. That look, it's just a group of people and this is what they do. Okay, I said, well, because this guy was an older fella, and probably had been in Australia longer than I was at that time. I said, look, yeah, I wouldn't do that. But as time went on, my mind kept going back, to this is really what I want to do. This makes me tick. I'm passionate about the theme, the topic of the mind. So the second time, I didn't tell him. I just went and I applied. And guess what? I was given the admission. And then I started with the diploma. From the diploma was meant to take 3 years. I was able to knock it out in 1.5 years. I went on to the first degree. I did the first degree, the honors, came up with a first class. And then it was time to apply for the master's. And I went to another person. At times it takes us time to learn, So I went to another person and said, look, this is how my mind is working, right? I want to proceed. I want to go on to the master's degree. What do you think? The person said, look, don't apply. Don't apply. He said, it's only, all those slim girls, those are the only people they take into the master's program, girls from like 18 to 25, and looking at you, you're not particularly 25. So chances are that you're not actually going to cut the list. So I said, okay. So I thanked the person and I left. But guess what? Again, I went and I applied. I got 3 responses from 3 universities to come and actually study with them. And I had to sit and I had to pick the best one. Now, what am I saying? The whole reason why I share that story is for you to know that your dreams and your goals and your vision, they are things that are private to you. Other people might not see what you're seeing. So the fact that they've said no, or the fact that they've said not to do it, or the fact that they do not really agree with you, doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue your goal. For as long as you know that the whole idea behind your goal, your vision, your dream is to serve people, is to help people, is to bring value to people. Come on, go ahead and do it. So, Audacious, showing a willingness to take surprisingly bold risks. I had to take some risks. Would you agree with me? Yes, I had to. And so also, you will have to at various points in time in your life. The second definition of audacious says extremely original, without restriction to prior ideas, highly inventive. Now, how many people in this place, and you can just indicate by show of hand, how many of you have gotten an idea that you think is totally original and it's crazy? Absolutely. Okay, good. Now, how many of you have actually followed up on that idea? Okay, so let's say maybe about 40, between 30 and 40% of the people sitting here. Now, what happens oftentimes when we have an original idea, because no one has done it, you have no reference point. Now, you can look at that in two ways. One, you can look at that in the fact that no reference point. I actually get to write the playbook for this. I actually get to say this is how this goes. Or you may say there's no reference point. Maybe I really shouldn't do this. But you see, the people who are willing to be courageous, who are willing to be fearless, who are willing to be audacious, will rather write the playbook and say, no one has done this. So I actually have the free hand to define or to decide how I want to go about this. It talks about being highly inventive. With every sense of humility, bringing into a space psychological principle and spiritual principle. I'm not sure if this is being done, in Perth or even in Australia. So when I conceived, or when this idea came, I had that problem too. I had that challenge too. That look, no one is doing this. Is this really a good idea, or is it not? But I said, look, I'll give it a shot. Right? Let's be bold about this. I get to be able to write the playbook. Let's see what comes out of it. And last year, we had we actually had 11 events. This year, this is our third event. So what am I saying? Even if your idea is novel, if it's new, if it has never been attempted before, you actually have that good privilege to start somewhere and to define the scope of how you want to execute that vision or that idea without restriction to prior ideas. Let's go a bit further. This wonderful person said, life shrinks or expands in proportion to your courage. I think that's an awesome quote. Life shrinks. So basically, if there is a way we can define, or if there's a way we can come up with an instrument to measure everyone's courage in this place, we can actually know in 5-10 years time whether your life is going to be shrinking or your life is going to be expanding. Does that make sense? If I know the level of your courage, if I know the level of your fear, if I know the level of your anxiety, we can actually predict. So meaning that your life will never really stay in one place. It's either it's shrinking or it's expanding based on how much courage you want to exercise in your life. Based on how you choose to deal with things that may be anxiety provoking for you, whether at work, whether at home, whether in your relationship, whether in parenting, whether in your career, whether in ministry, in any area of your life. If you can know how courageous you are, you know so many things that you've been meaning to do, all these years, and yet you are not doing just because of fear, just because you've not chosen to be courageous about those things. And as time goes on, you begin to see that it's actually what delineates the people who you look at as achieving so much and the people who are not achieving anything. Are you getting something from this? Let's move on. So we come to what I refer to as an expert complex. Expert complex. And I've defined that. that it refers to the feeling that people you see as extremely competent or confident were born that way. I used to feel like that. I used to feel, look, if people are achieving stuff, even right back in high school, in uni, you see a guy, and the guy is just killing it, he's just doing so well in life, doing so well, in uni, doing so well, in ministry, doing so well, in career. It's almost as if, we just take it for granted that perhaps that guy was actually born that way. We all know Michael Jordan, right? The guy that turned around the face of basketball. There was a time Michael actually applied to his junior varsity school team, to be part of the team in 1978. He was just 5'10". Guess what? He was rejected. Michael Jordan. Do we all know Michael Jordan? Yes, all right? Michael Jordan did not actually make the cut. But guess what he did? He went back. He said in his biography I read, he went back and he said, look, I can do two things. I can give up on this dream, or I can actually go back and continue to practice harder. So what he did was, he went back, he continued to practice. He said whenever he closed his eyes, whenever he begins to feel tired, he would close his eyes, and in his mind's eye, he will see the fact that he did not make the cut. So he would increase his workout. So long story short, he was admitted into, I think, the grade below. In that particular team, of course, he had so many 40-point games. And by some stroke of luck or nature or whatever, he had a growth spurt. And he just went over 6 feet. And the rest is history. He was able to make the team and got into NBA. And like I said, the rest is just history. Till now, yes, people still compare Michael Jordan, to someone like LeBron James. But, arguably, he's still the best in the world of basketball. So, the fact that Michael, that we see today, actually is arguably the best in basketball, does not mean that there was a time that he didn't struggle. He actually struggled. He actually did not make the list. So what am I saying? Whatever your goal, whatever your vision, whatever your dreams are, you might be struggling right now. How I wish we could project like maybe 10, 20 years into the future to actually see your successful self. Yeah, that's something I'm working on. When I get it, I'll let you know, so that we can project in the future and see your future self. All right? But look at Michael today. Michael is a big brand, and is influencing and affecting the world in a big way. So expert complex is something that we should not allow ourselves to suffer from. If from today, and we'll get to that, if from today you begin to look at what competencies do I need to develop? What skills do I need to develop? What one thing do I need to do to actually get me from where I'm at now to where I want to be? We begin to see that experts at a point were actually novices. But because they stayed on their game and they continue to develop themselves, now we look at them and we think, wow, this person is actually super good. I move on. So number one, to become audacious, like I said, you have to be willing to take, now I've added the word calculated risks. Now, I'm not saying you have to just take any risks. Like how teenagers will just go somewhere and they do something they call dare. Right? Are you familiar with dare? Now, the teenagers in this place know. So dare means that a teenager might actually stand at the top of this hall, this theater, and the friends will say, I dare you to actually jump from that place. And a teenager will say, well, you dare me, I'm going to show you that I can do it. And a teenager will do it and then break all the bones in his body. Right? Now, I'm not talking about that kind of risk. Okay? But you see that for you to become audacious, for you to become courageous, of course, risks will be involved. And that was why Josh, initially in the text I shared with you, was told to be courageous. Now, if risk wasn't involved, there won't be any need for courage. There won't be any need for courage. If risk wasn't involved, there won't be any need for bravery. So can you begin to see how you need to begin to inculcate bravery, courage into the narrative of your life? Again, it's similar to you willing to actually step out of the boat and step onto the waters. I mean, I can see so many people in here who are actually able to step upon the waters and actually walk. But because fear keeps keeping you back. Maybe there are books in this place that are yet to be written. Maybe there are songs that are in this place that are yet to be sung. Maybe there are movies that are yet to be produced. Maybe there are influences, impact that is yet to be made out there. What I'm saying to you this morning is that you need to add that element of courage to whatever you have in your mind as your dream, as your goal, so that you can begin to impact your world. So the first thing you want to do is that there has to be a willingness. The willingness has to come from you. Secondly, you can write this quote down. I love this quote by Ray Bradbury. It says, "Jump and you will find out how to unfold your wings as you fall." Jump and you will find out how to unfold. Now, if you don't jump, you may not even know that you have wings. Now, I'm not talking to you teenagers. I'm not saying you go and jump and discover any wings, right? You know what I'm talking about. As far as your dream is concerned, as far as your goal is concerned, there has to be that aspect in which you have to be willing to take that leap of faith. You have to be willing to jump. You have to be willing for your wings to actually unfold and for you to fly. If you do not jump, you won't fly. If you do not jump, it's going to be difficult for you to actually impact anyone. So, jump and you will find out how to unfold your wings as you fall. The second thing which I want you to note is that you need to be able to relate to your dream as a calling. Now, this is super important. Now, you're asking ladies, what do you mean I need to be able to relate to my dream as a calling? Now, if every day you wake up, right, you have in your mind that there is actually someone that is relying on my A game this morning, how do you think that's going to change your motivation to engage with your day? If you know that the service you're going to offer, if you know the person you're going to meet is actually relying on you to bring out your best self, how is that going to affect you? But guess what? If you don't see it as a calling for you, then you'll be expecting the other person, the person sitting next to you, to actually do the job. So if you don't see your dream as a calling, you'll have several excuses under the surface of the sun not to do it, or to do it when it's convenient. But if you see it as a calling, just as Josh saw it as a calling, Josh was called and told, this is what you need to do. You need to bring these people to a land which I've given to them. So the day you feel like, you do it. The day you don't feel like, you still do it because it's your calling. Now, a lot of people ask me, and they say, especially when you talk about calling, people relate calling to things that are spiritual. So for it to be a calling, I have to have a pulpit, in church, and I have to be able to speak, from behind the pulpit. But do you know, I tell people, even in your workplace can become a pulpit for you. Because I don't see a separation between the soul and the spiritual. I just see it as one whole thing. So what you are doing, Even if you're not standing behind a pulpit, if you're an engineer, if you're a computer scientist, if you're in retail, that retail can actually be the platform from which you reach out to people, and that's your own pulpit. That's where you're going to impact the world. You may be in the service industry, whatever industry you find yourself, that becomes your calling. That becomes where you actually, from where you look at to do your best, to influence, to be a person of significance. Not everybody's going to have a pastoral job. Not everybody will be able to work in a religious organization. But guess what? That shouldn't limit you. Because it's all about influencing the people in your sphere of influence. So I say here, the second thing is for you to relate to that dream, that assignment that you believe you've been given, to relate to it as a calling. This is something I've been set aside to actually do. And yes, I'm gonna give it my best. And look, it doesn't have to be anything highfalutin. It doesn't have to be anything big. It may be as small as you want it to be, but you just have that sense that yes, I am gonna devote, I'm gonna dedicate, I'm gonna spend my time in an important way to actually make sure that this comes to pass for me and for the people I've been chosen to serve. So we move on. Another quote says, genius is talent set on fire by courage. Again, remember I talked about the expert mentality, the expert mindset, where people feel, experts or people who are good, people who are competent are born that way. But you see, there are a lot of talent sitting in this place also. Do you agree with me? There are talents in this place. There's talent in this place, and you know it. You know there are some things that you can do a lot better than the person sitting next to you. You know the time you've spent on those activities that actually make you better than the person sitting next to you. But however, if you're not willing to be courageous about those things, it's still not going to amount to anything. It's good to make money. It's good to go to work, to clock. But really, is that how you want to live your life? Yes, we need money to be able to subsist. We need money to be able to, buy stuff and, have a good house, a good car, be able to put food on the table. But at the end of the day, is that how you want to impact the world? That's the question courage and being audacious is asking this morning. But you begin to see that when you allow that thing that is special, that is resident in you, when you allow it to be set on fire by courage, you begin to make an inroad into how you can actually begin to impact other people's lives. The third one, I've already alluded to this, is that you need to know what mindset do I need to develop? What competencies, what skills do I need to develop? What are those things that whenever you think about, there was a time, maybe say 20 years ago, if someone told me that in 20 years time, say like in 2018, I'll be standing in front of an audience and I'll be given presentations like this, I'll just tell the person it's not going to happen. Because I couldn't even stand before just one person to even communicate. But it got to a time in which, after I came to that reality that, look, I love the way the mind works. I love the way the brain works. I love human behavior. I love the way people feel or choose not to feel. The first realization I came to was, to become a psychologist, definitely you have to sit in front of people. And you have to be able to talk to them. So I said, so what competencies, what skills do I need to develop? And then it dawned on me, you have to be able to communicate at least to one person. And then from one person, maybe to a group. From a group, then you're looking at a larger audience. So, meaning I had to, at various points, actually develop such skills. Now, perhaps you know someone who is really doing well, the person you see as an expert in your field. Now, what skill do you think they have that you need to work on so you can also be at that level, so you can influence and impact your sphere, your circle of influence? Those are the things you want to begin to look at. What is that skill? What is that competency? What do I need to work on? What's that skill such that if you're called on, to come and demonstrate, you just feel embarrassed? I tell you, it's that skill that you need to begin to work on. Because I would say to you, 20 years ago, I would have felt if somebody called me to come and give a presentation, that means you really want to embarrass me. But along the line, I knew for me to be able to do whatever I need to do effectively, such that I can impact life, I need to develop the skill of communication. And I'm still working on it, as you can see. Because I can see somebody nodding, so that means I still need to, no, just kidding, right? But you need to know what skill you need to develop. You need to know how you can always bring on your A game to serve your community, to serve the people around you, to make that impact to be significant in life. So what mindset, what competencies, what skills do you need to develop? And not just develop, but to maintain. So it's one thing to develop it. However, if you don't have a system, there was a time I was talking to people about personal growth. And I'm sure, even if I ask by show of hand here, I'm not sure if I'll be able to get 10%. How many people now, you don't need to tell me. If you want to, you can see me later, we can talk about it. But how many people in this place actually have what is called a growth plan? Okay. So maybe just about 4 in this place. Now, if you don't have a growth plan, how are you going to measure whether you're actually growing in any area of life, in any aspect of life? How do you know what you need to develop on? How do you know what you're good at? How do you know, your area of weaknesses? In 12 months' time, what do you want to be working on? What are the metrics that you're going to be using? Without a growth plan, you're just going to be floundering. And that's something I've seen a lot of people don't have. No growth plan. Just like, we'll just be rolling with the flow, as we move along. So we need to know what mindset, we need to know what competencies, we need to know what skill we need to develop and maintain. So now this is where the tire meets the road now, the action point. All right? Remember, you wrote some dreams, some visions, some goals down when we started. Now, these are the action steps that I think we need to use to be able to track well as far as those things are concerned. So, number 1, and this is where you also write. Number 1, what 1 or 2 things, if you begin to do, will become a game changer for you in your field? What 1 thing? Now, if you haven't thought about that, then you need to think about, maybe that's even the starting point. But if already you've thought about that, then you need to be able to put 1 or 2 things that you really need to do that will become a game changer, that will actually alter the whole of your experience. Now, if you're like so many people, we just have different things we do. Whether they are relevant, whether they are not, whether they're important, whether they are not, but we're not actually paying premium to that particular thing that's going to be a game changer. So if you don't know that, you still have to reflect and know what 1 thing. So say for instance, because I have an author in the house this morning. Say you want to be an author. Now, for you to be an author, you need to produce content. Do you agree with me? Now, if you're going to be an author, but you're not constantly producing content, how are you going to stand to say you're an author? Now, you can do so many other things, but if you're not producing content, then you really can't say you're an author. And not just content, because you can also just produce any content. If you're not producing relevant content, because you're going to have an audience. So you have to be able to produce content for them. You know, they have to be able to rely on your A game. They need to be able to come to you and know that, look, in this particular area, because this guy is an author, I can always trust whatever content he's putting out there. So that's your game changer. So if you spend your time doing every other thing but to produce relevant content, then you still have a lot of work to do in being able to actually become audacious and be able to affect, you know, your community. So look at that. If you're gonna be a musician, an artist, if you're not writing songs, then again you're not focusing on what's a game changer for you. If you're a producer, you know, if you're not focusing on actually getting people to produce their song, then what's going to be the game changer for you? Nothing. If you're spending time just going to concerts and not actually producing people, then again, you cannot really present yourself as a producer. So you need to know in your own sphere of influence, what's that game changer? And you need to spend time, you need to focus on it. Look at your time. Even if you have some other things you're doing, you're working, you know, as in some other spheres of life, perhaps devote 10, 20, 30% of your spare time to begin to develop that game changer. Right? So that's action number 1. Action number 2. Now, apart from you as an individual, apart from you as a person, who else is going to gain or is going to benefit from the service you want to produce or the product that you want to produce? Who else is going to benefit? Now, if it's just about you, perhaps making money or making your family comfortable, then it's not good enough. Because if you remember, again, going back to the initial text, it talks about the fact that Josh was called to actually lead the people into a land. So you see, it's all about what you're going to do to actually help other people. You know, you're not truly a blessing until you begin to be a blessing to other people. And besides, you're also blessed so that you can be a blessing to others. So, who else is going to benefit apart from your wife? Who else is going to benefit apart from your children? If you begin to look at it from that point of view, then you begin to expand your sphere of influence, and then you can bring on your A game. Action 3. Okay? Now, from number 1, you know, hopefully you are able to identify 2 things. Now, what I'm saying in action 3 is that you pick one of those 2 things. Just pick one, and now identify the smallest step that you need to take towards that game-changing activity or attitude. So I'll recap. The first thing is for you to have an idea of 1 or 2 things that you need to do, you know, as a game-changing activity. The second thing is who else is going to benefit from that. The third thing is, if you've been able to identify 2 things, just pick one now from number 1 and identify what step do you need to take right from when you leave this seminar or this presentation this morning. What step do you need to take? Otherwise, if you're not clear about that, you know, it will just become another information session, and that's just going to be it. There won't be any action step. But if you're able to identify at least the smallest thing might be for you to be accountable to someone. To say, friend, this is what I have identified to be a game-changing activity or a game-changing attitude. For some, it's going to be an attitudinal change that you actually need. So maybe you're someone that usually you're always very discouraged when you set your heart to do something, when you set your heart to accomplish a task. I've said, I think I said in the last event we had, when we started this, the first event we had, guess how many people came? 3 awesome people, 2 awesome people plus myself. Those are the people that turned up for the first one. The second one, I think we had 5 people, and that 5 people included myself, the first 2 people that turned up, and my wife and one of my sons that came. So what am I saying? Look, from that time, we could have said, look, this thing is not really working. We're really discouraged. We want to do this in the community, and like people are not responding to this. So let's just fold it up. So it may be an attitudinal change that's going to be your game changer. So if typically you're one that is given to discouragement, perhaps that's why you need to become audacious. So you know yourself. There is self-awareness now. You often become discouraged when you're not seeing, outcome, or when you're not seeing the result of your effort. So that's something you need to work on. That's something you need to guard against. So that the next time you begin to feel discouraged, you can know, oh yeah, I recognize you. Now what do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to? How can I get my motivation up? And you begin to engage so you can actually scale through that season of demotivation or that season of discouragement. So that's going to be your own game-changing attitude that you need to address. For some other people, it's actually an activity. It's something you need to do. So that's number 4. The next one is, now after you've been able to identify all this, you need to be able to model boldness by your willingness, and stay with me here, by your willingness to be able to fail small, to be able to fail fast, and to be able to fail forward. And I'll explain that. Now, those 3 are 3 powerful concepts. The concept of failing small, failing fast, and failing forward. And for those who know me, I tell people, if you're willing to learn, that means you're willing to improve. And if you're willing to improve, that means you're willing to succeed. However, you need to begin to, again, change your mindset about what failure is. I see failure as learning. So when I say fail small, I'm saying learn small. So something has happened and it hasn't turned out the way you expected it. See that as a learning opportunity for you, rather than seeing it as a failure. And you see, if you begin to put your hand to the plow and you begin to do things in a small way, at least you can do it in a small way. You can, even if you fail fast, you learn fast. And if you fail fast, also fail forward. Fail forward meaning what are you learning? What are you taking away from that experience? How can you use that in the next iteration of what you want to do? Now, whatever you want to do, let me tell you, if you're waiting until you have all your dots lined in a row before you start, you will never start. So for some people, maybe your struggle is that you're a perfectionist. It has to be right. If it's not right, if everything doesn't work out even before you take the first step, in fact, you're not even going to take the first step. But if you begin to look at it from failing small, what little thing can I do now? How can I scale this down? How can I trial this? So that's your failing small. Then when you fail fast, that means you actually put your concept into action. And then when you fail forward, then that means you're able to actually get input, you get information from what you've done, like I said, so you can improve on the next iteration. So fail, you can actually substitute failing for learning. So learn small, learn fast, and learn forward. And that's your action number 5. I have 2 more. Okay, I have a quote there. It requires more courage to persevere than to give up. Do you agree with me? It requires more courage. It's actually easy to just give up. Giving up is the easiest thing in the world. Oh, it's not working, so let's just give up. Or it's too difficult. That's the easiest thing to do. But you begin to see that for you to be able to make that mark, for you to be able to make that impact, you will need to be able to persevere. You will need to be courageous. So it requires more courage to persevere. It requires more courage, to keep at it. Thomas Edison, like we know, history says he actually performed over 10,000 experiments before he could come up with the light bulb. 10,000. Now, not 10, not 1,000, 10,000 experiments. Now, that's insane perseverance. Now, tell me, for how long? How many experiments have you performed? How many iterations have you been through that you're saying, well, it's not working, let's just give it up? Somebody did 10,000 experiments just to be able to come up with one invention. And again, that's the power of courage, that's the power of perseverance. The second to the last one is invest in small wins. Small wins. Now, don't look for those the big, overwhelming win, when you can say, yeah, I nailed it in a big way. Just look for small wins, something you can celebrate. Right? If say you're, how will I put it now? You're a writer or you are a speaker, right? Rather than you thinking, oh, I'm waiting for that gig where I'll be able to speak to 10,000 people. Even if you're invited to come and speak to 10, see that as a small win. Celebrate it. Express gratitude for that. Little things, express gratitude. Celebrate those little wins, those little improvements. If you're looking, if it's your business, and you're looking at getting more clients or more people to engage with you, even if you have an additional person come, to come and check out what you're doing, celebrate it as a small win. Be grateful for that. Because you begin to see, when you have that attitude of gratitude, before you know what's happening, one person will become 2, will become 10, will become 100. And because you now see what you're doing as a calling, you will always want to bring on your A game to serve the people. And it's a matter of time. If you're serving them the way they want to be served, then you're beginning to make influence. Then you're beginning to make impact. It may take time, but I tell you, my friend also is here with me today. We have a saying, we throw back and forth to ourselves. If you believe in the process, a lot of people do not believe in the process. They want to do stuff, right? They want to be an author, they want to be a musician, they want to be a sports person, they want to be a business person, perhaps they want to have some big store. But they do not really believe in the process that they have to go through. Look at it this way. If you have a seed, right? If you have a seed and you plant a seed. Now, if you believe in the law of, sowing and reaping, if you plant the seed, day one, you go to where you planted the seed and you said, oh, this seed is not actually bringing forth anything. And then you dig it up, you look at it, what's happening? You're not growing, and then you put it back. Day 2, you go again, you dig it up. Now, do you believe in the process? No, you do not. Because that's not how seed grow. You put a seed in the ground, you wait for it. In fact, some people will tell you when you put a seed in the ground, the seed will first die before it begins to grow. But if you believe in the process, in spite of the fact that you are not seeing what's happening on the ground, if you believe in the process, you will allow the process to just keep going on until you begin to see the fruit. So whatever you are doing, you also need to believe in the process of what you're doing. Because if you do not, you'll just keep self-sabotaging. Like the person who goes to just undo the soil to bring the seed out, that's what you and I will be doing. So invest in small wins. Whatever the wins are, invest in them and express gratitude for your progress. And this is the last one. And after this, I'm going to be inviting my guest, and we'll have an awesome time with him this morning. The last thing is that you want to manage your emotions relentlessly. You want to manage your emotions. I mean, emotions are things that we are given to be able to understand how we are feeling, to be able to understand how we are interpreting, how we are relating, with our experiences, with our environment. Emotions are good. But if you do not manage your emotions well, again, your emotion can actually be your downfall. One of which I've already talked about. If you begin to see that you're one that gets discouraged easily, how can you overcome that? Because if you get discouraged easily, that means you'll never be able to complete any project. Because I can tell you, every project will have to undergo a particular process before you begin to see fruits. So if you're not able to manage your emotions well, it's going to be a very tough gig for you. If you're one that you get angry, or you get sad, you just want to give up because you're not getting what you want, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to make impact in your sphere of influence. So the last thing is that you want to be able to manage your emotions relentlessly. Has someone gotten something this morning?
Yes, sir.
So, I just have a few more slides. Okay. And this is the last quote I'll be sharing with you this morning. All your desire, whatever you want, guess what? Is actually on the other side of courage. I mean, I've heard people say, and I've also said it before, that what you want is on the other side of fear. But I say no. What you want is actually on the other side of courage. If you make up your mind this morning that, look, this is what I want, I'm going to be audacious, I'm going to be fearless in pursuing this, I'm going to know what my risks are, right? Calculated risks are. I'm going to invest in small wins. I'm going to fail small. I'm going to fail fast. I'm going to fail forward. You begin to see that you begin to move closer and closer and closer to the realization of that dream, to the realization of making an impact in the world. All that you need, all that you desire is on the other side of courage. Remember what I said at the outset also, if we can measure your courage, then we can tell you, to what extent your life is shrinking or to what extent your life is actually blossoming. So I see courage, I see being audacious, I see being fearless as one of the critical elements that we all need to be able to become that person who is able to impact our world in a big way. This is, if you want more content, that's the website, www.tribeofdavid.com.au. You can log on and there are awesome transformative content there for you. This is a program we've just rolled out, Becoming Audacious. So if you want to book a session, a strategy session, with me, so we can sit down and work out where you're at and how you can actually become that person who is audacious, who is fearless, who is courageous to pursue their dream. You can contact us on that number, 0894903113, to book your strategy session with me, and we can sit down and work out what we need to do and to go on from there. And I think the last one, we're also on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and that's also the website address. Have you gotten something this morning?
Yeah.
Can you just give yourself a round of applause? That's good. That's good.